Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 262 for September 20th, 2022. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On today's show, there's not one but two Monday Night Football games this week, and we have our second major firing of a head coach in college football. In this week's history lesson, we continue our discussion with part 4 of the greatest player nicknames in football history. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table for me, as always, is my son Adam.
Man, you'd think we'd have a little more energy and pep in our step today after being at the Lions game on Sunday. But man, you seem pretty tired.
I only like to go to a Lions game maybe once a year because it is so emotionally and physically draining on the day. I mean, we left at 9 a.m. in the morning, 2-hour drive to get there, went through that roller coaster of a game, then had another 2-hour drive home. It's just, it's an all-day affair to get from Kalamazoo to Detroit, and I have not recovered yet. So
yeah, it's taking you a couple days.
And you want to go back again in a couple weeks.
I am going back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, you can have it. I'll stay home and watch you on TV. We come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show, as well as other selected videos. So let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. We're going to start things off with the NFL, and it was week 2 this last weekend. And boy, what a great slate of games we ended up getting. Starting with the Thursday night game, the first one on Amazon Prime exclusively. Mm-hmm. We experienced that broadcast a little bit, and the Chiefs came out on top 27-24 in the end, though, while the Chargers looked for a while there like they were going to be the team to beat. But after a big pick six, which kind of swung the game back in the Chiefs' favor, I mean, a heck of a game to watch, heck of a game to open up the Prime Video streaming, and didn't get to look at all the bells and whistles that they had for the broadcast.
Yeah, we only saw a couple minutes of this game, maybe one drive or so. But
I kind of watched it periodically when I went to bed, and watching it like on my phone every once in a while. Especially having Patrick Mahomes on your fantasy team, I was like, "Oh, he's got the ball. I better turn on the Prime Video and see where they're at." And so, I mean, it was all right. Like I don't know if it's gonna be hard to watch more of the broadcasts with your internet's not great, so it's not like I can watch the game with you as much as I'd like. So
we watched one game, and our internet's done for the month.
Yeah, your internet's all gone. But yeah, otherwise, I think everything else was fine. A lot of people are criticizing some of the streaming issues, but I think that just comes down to how your internet is. So, you have a hotspot you use in your house because you live in a very rural area, so you don't get great internet. But I thought it was great. The streaming quality was pretty good for doing it like that. But, I mean, I think if you got decent internet, it should not have been a problem.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. On Sunday, we had a couple of incredible come-from-behind victory in several games, starting with the Miami Dolphins clawing their way back to defeat the Baltimore Ravens 42-38. How about this? A big coming-out party for Tua Tagovailoa, who threw 6 touchdown passes in the game, 400 and some odd yards. I mean, just an incredible game for him, but not to be outdone. I mean, Lamar Jackson on the other side was doing everything he could to show the Ravens why they need to pay that man or why he needs to come to Detroit and become a Detroit Lion, apparently.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row that I've said not so great things about Tua Tagovailoa, and I've been wrong for 2 straight weeks. He's looking really good right now.
It's taken him a while. He's looking good right now. We'll see. He's got a big game against the Bills next week. We'll see how they do. That'll be a big measuring stick to see where Tua's at. Yep. But good for the Dolphins, though, 2-0. Who'd have thought? Good for them. Moving on, the New York Jets scored 2 touchdowns in the final minute and a half to come back and beat the Cleveland Browns 31-30. Now, to add insult to injury, Cleveland did miss an extra point after scoring a late touchdown to extend their lead. And with a minute and a half left, you wouldn't sweat it too much, you'd think. But no, of course, the Jets go down. They score. They get the onside kick. They score again. and Cleveland Browns fans are not happy.
Yeah, there was all that talk about if Nick Chubb had just run out of bounds, or not run out of bounds.
If he would have just
kept
held
the clock
down.
running, they could have run the clock out, and
Yep.
and they wouldn't. The Jets would never have had a chance to score 2 more touchdowns.
Well, at what point do you think we're up by 14 points with a minute and a half left? What are the odds that they do that? Like, it's,
True. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20.
It's always 2020. But good for the Jets, though, sticking with it and having a great comeback.
Yep.
A team that did not get a chance to have a comeback, the Indianapolis Colts. What's going on with them? The Jacksonville Jaguars seem to be their kryptonite down there in Jacksonville, giving the Colts a big old bagel as they won 24-0. I think they've had 3 shutouts the last few years against the Colts. Just unbelievable. This Colts team I thought was going to be a playoff team, and here they are looking like one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. Even though the Jags won, I could have seen maybe they could have squeaked out a win or something, but a shutout was absolutely not on my radar.
Yeah, very hard to believe, but now the Colts sit at 0-1-1, still waiting for that first win of the season. The Detroit Lions defeated the Washington Commanders 36-27, a game that we were in attendance at, a game that which I said the first half was the greatest, most energetic I had ever seen Ford Field, and I was glad to be there to experience it. Then the second half happened, and shot a lot of that enthusiasm for a little bit.
That has been Detroit's Achilles heel, that second half kickoff for many years. But boy, that place was just so loud. Every time that Washington had the ball, the crowd was just so loud. And whenever Detroit had the ball, they put up a sign on the replay board that said, quiet offense at work or something like that.
That's usually pretty standard.
And boy, that place was just, all you heard was a little murmur, and that was it. Everybody shut right up. But boy, when Washington had the ball, God, it was so loud in there.
It was.
The fans were really into this game.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, Detroit let them get back within 7, but that was it. That's as close as Washington got.
Never should have happened.
And Detroit closed it out, unlike maybe old Lions teams would have.
Yep.
So it was good to see. A win's a win. And for 3 straight games now, the Lions have posted 35 points or more going back to the season finale last year, which is the first time the Lions have had 3 straight games of 35-plus points since
1952.
the 1952-53 season, in which the Detroit Lions were
world champions.
Yep, they became world champions that season. Do with that information what you will, because I'm not thinking we're Super Bowl champions this year, but it's an interesting stat that we've had to wait that long. You were how old when that happened?
Let's see, I was 7 years away from being born.
Okay, yeah, so
In 52.
you weren't even a thought yet either.
No,
and I wasn't even a thought's thought. No. So
no, but a win sure does make that ride and that traffic jam after the game a little more tolerable.
Yep.
And we listened to a lot of post-game, local post-game stuff on the radio, almost all the way home, just about.
Yep.
And so, that 2-hour drive is definitely a lot better after a win than after a loss.
for sure. All right, moving on. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers got a win over the New Orleans Saints 20-10. Not a glorious win, but that Bucs defense came to play. And, of course, the big story out of this one is Mike Evans getting a 1-game suspension for getting in a fight with Marshawn Lattimore, I believe is how you pronounce his first name.
Marshawn Lattimore. After Tom Brady started the whole thing and then just kind of stepped back.
Yeah, Tom Brady starts it, and Mike Evans will finish it and then get the suspension for it, which he's appealing, apparently.
I guess that's not the first time these guys have gotten into it.
No, they got into it a few years ago. That was a vicious one, too. So just these two teams do not like each other, apparently.
And these 2 players don't like each other.
And these 2 players especially don't like each other. All right, the New York Giants got a big win against the Carolina Panthers 19-16 to make the Giants 2-0. Who'd have thought that was going to happen? Not me, that's for sure. The New England Patriots beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 17-14. I got nothing from that game, to be honest with you. The Los Angeles Rams almost blew the game against the Atlanta Falcons 31-27. The Falcons were down for a lot of this game, but started clawing back there at the end. And for a minute, we thought, could they reverse their curse? Because it seems like every time the Falcons are the ones blowing the lead, and the Rams were the ones who almost did it this week.
Yeah, that was the overtime game, wasn't it?
No, not the Rams Falcons, I don't believe.
Oh, I thought that was the overtime game. But yeah, because didn't they no, it was Arizona
We're getting there. Yep, I know where you're at. Yeah, we're getting there.
I'm mixed up.
The 49ers beat the Seattle Seahawks 27-7. The big thing from this game, obviously, is Trey Lance going down. I believe it was early in the second quarter or into the first.
Yeah, it was the first quarter.
Yeah, and he just, took a bad hit, broke his ankle.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, takes the rest of the game. And you hate seeing your young quarterback go down, but I wonder if there's some fans out there who were Jimmy G fans saying, well, thank goodness we re-signed him, even if it was, to be a backup. And now you got him starting
the rest of the season,
hopefully if he stays healthy. So they keep the 49ers' hopes alive there.
Yeah, Trey Lance, I guess, has already had surgery on his ankle, and he's definitely done for the year.
Yeah.
Too bad.
And then also, speaking of too bad, the Dallas Cowboys getting a win. Too bad they got a win. But I mean, good for backup quarterback Cooper Rush.
Yes.
They won against the Bengals 20-17 on a last-second field goal. And, boy, you hate seeing the Bengals drop to 0-2, but, man, the post-Super Bowl hangover is a real thing.
Yeah, what was that they were saying all week long, that nobody that's gone 0-2 has made the playoffs?
There's always a thing
since
about...
like 1998 or 1999. I
don't know if that is just for Super Bowl player teams, or if it's just in general, like 0-2 is not where you want to be to start a season. The statistical likelihood of getting into the playoffs is not great.
Yeah, they said only 11% of the teams even make the playoffs after going 0-2.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's a weird.
Way too early to start with that stat. That's a nothing stat to me.
Yeah, I mean you can come back from an 0-2 start. You start going 0-3, 0-4, 0-5. Yeah, then you're really hurting on making the playoffs. But 0-2, I wouldn't think it would be that bad.
Yep. The Denver Broncos beat the Houston Texans 16-9 in a apparently very boring game, from what I heard from that one. Russell Wilson still trying to figure things out, getting booed by the home fans. So not as easy and fun as he thought it was going to be in Denver.
He didn't look real good in that game. I mean, he looked halfway decent in the Monday night game up there against Seattle. But yeah, this week he did not look good at all.
Yep. All right. Man, making me yawn.
I didn't yawn.
I know you didn't.
That's all on you.
Your atmosphere is making me yawn.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the Arizona Cardinals came back to defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 29-23. Las Vegas had a big lead in this. I believe they were up 23-7 at one point in the third quarter. And then the Cardinals just kind of came rolling back there, tied the game up before regulation ended, and then go into overtime. And it was a forced fumble by the Arizona defense.
Yeah.
They scooped and scored, won the game. Heck of a finish. And good for the Arizona Cardinals to get that victory, because, man, I thought they were riding the struggle bus the first couple of weeks. I wasn't sure what was going on with them. But Kyler Murray came alive, and Kyler Murray, with his legs, made a couple of great plays during that game.
Yeah, he can be good at times. I'm not totally sold on him. But yeah, he did what it took to win this game.
And that's all that matters. That's why you pay him that money.
Yep.
Okay, now we talk about the Chicago Bears going into Green Bay and falling 27-10. The Packers just did what I thought they were going to do. They weren't going to get embarrassed on a nationally televised game against a division rival, one of the longest rivalries in NFL history. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Rodgers did Aaron Rodgers things, and the Packers look like they're back.
Yeah, he still owns Chicago. I don't know if he said that to the other team after the game or what, but he did that last year in Chicago, and it obviously is still true.
You know why the Chicago Bears are unlike cigarettes?
Why?
Because Aaron Rodgers only smokes the Bears.
I see. You didn't make that up.
I didn't. I saw that somewhere, and I probably even butchered that. All right, and then we had two Monday night games, as Randy mentioned off the top there. The first of which saw the Buffalo Bills just destroy the Tennessee Titans 41-7. What a game for Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen looked great as usual. We saw him jump a guy. Oh, incredible. I thought the Titans were actually going to hang into this for most of the game. It was 7-7 there early on, and it was looking like Tennessee was going to have some fight. But, man, that Buffalo team is just so hard to stop. And who knew? I didn't realize that they'd only had one punt in, the last 4 games. Mm-hmm. And that punter's that's got to be a nice cushy gig for him. And then the second Monday night game saw the Philadelphia Eagles handle the Minnesota Vikings 24-7. I think the big story here was Darius Slay getting a couple of big interceptions and really shutting down a very, very talented Justin Jefferson of Minnesota.
Yeah, I think in this game, I believe Minnesota scored the first touchdown, and then after that...
No, Philadelphia scored the first touchdown.
Did they? Okay, then it was the Buffalo game where Tennessee got the first touchdown and never scored again.
I believe Buffalo had the first touchdown on that one too. So
no, one of them got the first touchdown.
Yeah, Buffalo did, because then the Titans responded. I watched the game. I remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Somebody tell Adam he's wrong.
Well, I'm not, so good luck finding somebody to tell me I'm wrong. But that'll do it for the NFL scoreboard this week. Any other news or notes or thoughts from this week?
Not right now. We got a few things coming up in our NFL news, but
Okay.
we'll hold off on those.
All right, and then I'll try to get through these Canadian scores real quick. Because, yes, the Canadian Football League is also still playing, everybody. And it was week 15, and we only had 3 games this week.
Mm-hmm.
But it started with the Edmonton Elks getting a victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders 26-24. A loss would have eliminated the Elks from the playoffs, but fortunately, the Elks ended up leading 17-13 at halftime, but Saskatchewan came back and took a 24-23 lead with just a minute left in the game. And it all came down to a 48-yard field goal by Edmonton kicker Sergio Castillo with 24 seconds remaining, who popped it through for the victory. Edmonton quarterback Taylor Cornelius completed 13 passes for 237 yards and a touchdown. He also ran the ball 8 times for another 93 yards and a rushing touchdown, doing his best Lamar Jackson impression.
I guess.
Wide receiver Darrell Walker of the Elks caught 5 passes for 109 yards, while for the Rough Riders, quarterback Cody Fajardo completed 20 passes for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns, also running it 6 times for an additional 47 yards. And that was Edmonton's first win in Saskatchewan since 2015. And I wasn't going to test you because you wrote it down.
Been a long time since they've won in Saskatchewan, so good for Edmonton. They needed this to keep their slim playoff hopes alive and beat their neighbors, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, good for the Elks. All right, then on Saturday we saw the Hamilton Tiger Cats get the rare victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. How about that? It was the Hall of Fame game up there in Canada. Hamilton led this one 34-14 at halftime and just dominated the entire game for that upset victory. Hamilton quarterback Dane Evans returned to the lineup and completed 25 passes for 327 yards and 5 touchdowns during the game. Hamilton kicker Seth Small connected on a 52-yard field goal in the first quarter. Then on the Winnipeg side of things, quarterback Zach Caleros completed 23 passes for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns, while wide receiver Dalton Schoen caught 6 passes for 158 yards. Hamilton snapped a 3-game losing streak with the win, while Winnipeg suffered a loss for just the second time this season.
Yeah, those were the best highlights of the week, I'm telling you. And how could it not be when one quarterback has 327 yards and the other one has 324 yards? One threw for 5 touchdowns, the other one threw for 4. This was an offensive show, and really great for the annual Hall of Fame game there with Hamilton coming out on top 48-31. And we'll have a little more on the Hall of Fame ceremony here in just a little bit.
Okay, and then our final game of the week saw the British Columbia Lions defeat the Calgary Stampeders 31-29 in overtime. Calgary led this game 13-10 going into the half. The game was tied 23-23 with 23 seconds remaining. But Calgary kicker Rene Paredes missed a 48-yard field goal that would have won the game, sending the game into overtime. While in overtime, it was British Columbia running back James Butler who scored a touchdown on an 18-yard run. The 2-point conversion was good, giving the Lions a 31-23 lead. Then on Calgary's possession, wide receiver Jalen Philpott caught a touchdown pass to bring the Stampeders within 2 points for a second overtime, but the ensuing 2-point conversion was no good. British Columbia quarterback Vernon Adams made his first career start for the Lions, of course, filling in for the injured Nathan Rourke, who we've been gushing over all season long. He completed 25 passes for 294 yards, while wide receiver Brian Burnham caught 7 passes for 100 yards even. Then on Calgary's side, quarterback Jake Mayer completed 26 passes for 301 yards and 3 touchdowns, while wide receiver Malik Henry caught 4 passes for 107 yards and a touchdown.
These were the second best highlights of the week. You only had 3 games this week, so I guess that first game came in third place. But some great highlights on all these games. Go to CFL.ca and check out all the highlights from these last 3 games this past weekend.
All right, and then while 6 teams saw action this week, that meant there were 3 teams on bye this week, as the Toronto Argonauts, Ottawa Redblacks, and Montreal Alouettes all went on bye this week. Looking at the standings real fast, the Argonauts of Toronto sit at 7-5 atop the East Division, while in second place the Montreal Alouettes at 5-7, followed by the third place Hamilton Tiger Cats at 4-9, and then the 3-9 Ottawa Redblacks rounding out that division. In the West, we already talked about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers clinching several weeks ago, but they sit now at 12-2 at the top of the West Division, while British Columbia sits at 9-3, followed by the 8-5 Calgary Stampeders, 6-8 Saskatchewan Roughriders, and 4-10 Edmonton Elks. And with that, we throw it over to Randy, who's going to relieve me of talking and talk about some college football scores.
Oh, so many college scores from all the different divisions this week. All right, this was week 3 in college football. Number 1 ranked Georgia defeated South Carolina 48-7. It was number 2 Alabama over the University of Louisiana Monroe 63-7. Number 3 Ohio State over Toledo 77-21. And Michigan at number 4 shut out UConn 59-0. Washington upset number 11 Michigan State 39-28 in a game that you were just shaking your head at when you saw that score.
I couldn't believe that score.
I think we saw that when we were at the Western game. Let's see. Number 19 Wake Forest squeaked by Liberty 37-36. Number 20 Ole Miss shut out Georgia Tech 42-0. And in that Western game, like I talked about, number 23 Pittsburgh came here to Kalamazoo and defeated the Western Michigan Broncos. And I didn't even write the score down on that.
You were that disappointed, huh?
They kind of kept it close for 3 quarters, but then they just kind of let down.
It was a very defensive game. Both defenses played great for most of that game. The biggest difference maker had been an interception return for a touchdown by Pitt.
Yeah.
But then fourth quarter hit, and it was just Pittsburgh turned it on, and Western couldn't do anything to stop him.
Yeah, look up that score for me. I don't know why I didn't write that one down, but I'll read some more scores and you look that up. Number 24, Texas A&M upset number 13 Miami 17-9, and it was number 25 Oregon upsetting number 12 BYU 41-20. It was Notre Dame over California 24-17 in a game that we watched on TV, and boy, this was a pretty close game early on. California was really giving Notre Dame a run for their money, but Notre Dame just kind of pulled away at the end.
And the final for that Pittsburgh Western game, 34-13.
That's right. Okay. Let's see. Eastern Michigan went out to Arizona and defeated Arizona State by the score of 30-21. I think they made $1.5 million to go out there and play that game.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep. And after the game, Arizona State head coach Herm Edwards was fired. I think he had a 1-2 record this year, but he's been leading Arizona State since 2018, and he had an overall record of 26-20 as a coach. So I don't think it was just that game. I think it was kind of, the writing was on the wall here for a while. So
I think losing to a MAC team that you paid $1.5 million to doesn't help. But
yeah, that's true.
There was a video circulating on Twitter, and I don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of people saying that it was the moment he got fired. He wasn't even off the field yet because he was talking to, it looked like I don't know if it was the school president and the athletic director together, but there were 2 guys he walked up and talked to after the game while still on the field.
Wow.
And people are speculating that was the moment that he got fired. And if that's the case, which I don't know if it is or not, that's pretty sad.
Yeah,
but, I mean, that's college sports. That's just sports in general for you, man. It's a win now, and, what have you done for me lately business. And unfortunately for Arizona State, losing to a MAC school does not help.
Yeah, when we were out in Tempe a few years ago for the Pat Tillman run, Herm Edwards was...
He's just been hired.
Well, yeah, but he was the one who actually started off the race. He was not really the Grand Marshal. I don't know what you'd call it, but he was...
he just started the race.
Yep, he made the race official, and so it was kind of cool that he was there for that. Let's see, the final score here at the FBS level, well, not really. Bowling Green over Marshall, 34-31 in overtime. You might recall that Marshall beat Notre Dame last week, 26-21. So does that mean that Bowling Green is now technically better than Notre Dame because they beat the team that beat Notre Dame?
I'm not a big fan of the transitive properties of, well, if this team beat this team and this team beat that team, then this team is better than that team. Come on now. I remember one year in the NFL they did that, and the Lions were terrible. They got like 1 win at one point, and through that same process, they're like, and by that logic, the Lions are better than the Chiefs or something. It went full circle. It was just, you could do that with anything.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that it made such a big deal out last week about Marshall winning and getting a big payday to go over there and play Notre Dame, and now they come back and they lose to Bowling Green. I wonder how much Bowling Green got paid to go to Marshall and play.
Probably not that much.
Yeah. In the military academies, it was Wyoming over Air Force 17-14. It was Army over Villanova 49-10, and Navy did not play this past weekend. All right, now we're going to move to some of the lower levels of college football, and we're going to start with the FCS. So from here on, we have 3 random scores from each of these divisions. It was Brown over Bryant 42-38 in 2 overtimes. Holy Cross over Yale 38-14, and Penn over Colgate 25-14. In Division II, Kutztown over Mercyhurst 50-31. Limestone over Carson Newman 40-37 in overtime, and the Colorado School of Mines over Adams State 84-10. In Division III, Kalamazoo College over Defiance 42-23. It was Wisconsin Whitewater over Barry, that's Barry with an E, 17-3, and George Fox defeated Chapman 38-28. At the NAIA level, it was Linwood upsetting number 14 Kaiser, or is that Keiser? I'm going to say Kaiser, of Florida, 37-3. Number 20 St. Francis of Indiana over Judson of Illinois, 51-19. And Peru State of Nebraska upset number 11 Baker out of Kansas, 19-14. At the junior college level, it was Minnesota West over Central Lakes, 21-8. East Mississippi over Holmes, 45-9, and Hudson Valley over Erie, 33-27. U Sports up in Canada, it was the Windsor Lancers over the Toronto Varsity Blues, 37-7. A friend of mine actually was there this weekend. It was the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks over the York Lions, 32-1. There's a score you don't see very often. And the Saskatchewan Huskies squeaked by the Regina Rams 11-10. And finally, in Canadian Junior Football League, it was the Winnipeg Rifles over the Edmonton Wildcats 48-20. The London Beefeaters squeaked by the Hamilton Hurricanes 16-15, and the Langley Rams defeated the Vancouver Island Raiders 19-14. And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard from all around the world. All right, let's go into some NFL news.
Now, why don't you take a drink of water? You look like you're about to just give out over there. Good Lord.
Man, those scores. I think last
Maybe
week
you need a few less of them.
Last week we had, I think I said we had 60 last week. I think there was 55 scores this week that we had.
I don't even count. I don't count.
But in NFL news, a record number of ESPN viewers watched the first Monday Night Football game of the season between Denver and Seattle. The total viewership was 119.9 million viewers. That's a record for an ESPN Monday Night Football game anyway. And it was also the third most watched Monday Night Football game since 2009. And we had talked about this, what a great matchup that was for the first Monday Night Football game. Whoever was doing the scheduling really got it right for the first Monday night game of the season. And boy, it turned out to be true, especially as far as the ratings that they got for the game and the number of viewers that showed up for that. I know we watched it, and we were very excited for that game. The only thing that would have been better if maybe they'd have had the Browns and the Panthers play that night. Another situation where a former quarterback was going up against his old team. And, I don't know if that would have gotten more ratings or what, but this was a good one, Denver and Seattle, for the first Monday night game. All right, last Thursday's first streaming-only game on Amazon Prime between Kansas City and San Diego.
That's the Los Angeles Chargers. Not the San Diego Chargers. Man, put another $1 in the jar, Randy.
I'm sorry. They're always going to be the San Diego Chargers to me. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
They'll be the Los Angeles Chargers to me. And to everybody else, apparently.
The Chiefs and the Chargers, anyway. Which somebody said was very pleasingly... aesthetically pleasing was, I think, the term they used.
Okay.
It did look gorgeous. Those red uniforms against the white and the
it's a good look. It's a classic look. And then the way the Chiefs did their field up to look like reminiscent of the 50s.
Yes, that's right.
Was a cool vibe.
That was awesome.
So
that was cool for the first Prime game. But that game has been deemed a success from everything that I've read. I heard a few things where people had some problems with it.
Yeah, like we mentioned up top. I think it's just depending on your internet situation, you might not have been able to get the game great. But you know what? I think this is the way of the future. And hopefully, with the demand people wanted to stream, even just a football game, usually, what is it? They say that the porn industry and probably sports is what pushes technology forward. And you laugh, but it's true.
I know it's true. I'm laughing because it is true.
And so eventually the internet's got to get to everywhere, and great internet's got to get to places so we can stream these games. Because like a year from now, we're going to be talking about how the NFL, TV ticket or whatever that's called, the NFL Sunday ticket, will be with a new partner next year, and you telling me that it's not going to be a streaming service? It's going to most likely be a streaming service, and we need great internet to get these great games and to have no lag. We want everything perfectly. Like, none of this 4 seconds audio behind visuals, we don't need that. That's a big issue I heard from the game.
Come on, Elon Musk, get some more satellites up there so that we can watch football.
I signed up for that Starry Night internet, Elon. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get that Starry Night.
So this game, the Amazon Prime game, was last Thursday, and I've been checking to see what kind of ratings that game got. And I saw an article that was posted just yesterday, the 19th of September. 4 days after the game, they still don't have any numbers. Now, I don't know if they're just...
I think usually
they don't want to put out numbers
with
or what.
streaming services, they're a little more dubious about their streaming numbers. You would think it would have been, if it was a great number, they'd just they'd come out and say so. So maybe they didn't get quite the viewership they wanted, especially if you, just by the sounds of a lot of the internet issues people had, and some of the great memes out there of people talking about how they had to help their parents find their phone, find the game. Like, where do I watch the game tonight? Yeah. I think I saw a video of somebody watching the game on a flip phone. I don't know how they managed to do that, but it was just, so a lot of great fun at the expense of this game. But for real, though, I think the numbers, maybe they aren't as good as we think.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I saw a little bit of YouTube stuff about that Dude Perfect
I saw an option to watch that, but I never did that.
If you go to YouTube, you can find some highlights. It's like a 6-minute highlight video of what their studio, and they had two guys in dunk tanks, and they were throwing footballs back and forth at each other, trying to dunk the other guy. And I watched it for a few minutes, and I said, yeah, this is something I would not watch. So I gave up on that. But I thought it was going to be even worse than what I saw. But it was more tame compared to what I thought it was going to be. All right, moving on to a little CFL news. 5 players and 3 builders were inducted last Friday night into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. The only real player of note, I mean, from an American standpoint, for 2 guys here that follow the Canadian Football League, I didn't recognize most of the names. But the one name that I did recognize was quarterback Ricky Ray. We've been watching him for years. Many years with the Edmonton Eskimos, and finished his career with the Toronto Argonauts, and had a career that went between 2002 and 2018. Great quarterback on both teams, and well-deserving of a Hall of Fame nod for him. Okay, I ran across a couple of stories in college football today that you probably don't know about. This first one, E.J. Warner, son of Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, started for Temple University against Rutgers this past Saturday as a true freshman quarterback. It was his first collegiate start. Temple fell short, losing 16-14 to Rutgers. Warner also has another son, Cade, who is playing in his final season as a wide receiver at Kansas State. I had no idea that he's had one son playing in college for a couple of years and a second son playing at Temple now. This was all brand new to me.
I maybe could vaguely recall his son playing with Kansas State, but I didn't know about another son coming up and playing. But hey, good for them, the Warner family.
Yeah, really. And now that I know about E.J. Warner, I'm going to be a little more observant on what goes on at Temple, this year and in the years to come. And here's another story that I thought was just fascinating. You've heard all kinds of stories about people getting statues of themselves outside of a stadium. Well, the University of Oklahoma, who I think has several statues outside their stadium of all their Heisman Trophy winners, they're going to be dedicating a statue honoring 3 of the greatest defensive football players in their school's history, Lucius, Dewey, and Leroy Selmon, 3 brothers who all played there. And that statue dedication is going to be this Saturday, September 24th, prior to the Kansas State game. I didn't see a picture of it or even a drawing or whatever, but there was a picture of the 3 of them standing there side by side with their Oklahoma State jerseys on, a bold black and white picture.
Yeah.
Are they going to have a statue up with all 3 of these guys?
That'd be cool.
I want to see it so bad.
I saw that picture. It'd be a cool statue.
Yeah, I want to see how they did the statue, but yeah, that just sounds awesome. Leroy Selmon was the number 1 overall pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 1976 NFL Draft. I remember him vividly. And he was joined on the Buccaneers team by his brother Dewey, who was the first pick in the 2nd round of the draft that same year. Leroy was a 1979 Defensive Player of the Year and was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, or the Pro Football Hall of Fame, in 1995. Dewey played several seasons in the NFL between the Buccaneers and the San Diego Chargers. See, that's San Diego Chargers right there in black and white. And he was an All-Pro in 1979. All three Selman brothers are in the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. I cannot wait to see the statue of these three guys. It's got to be a lot of material for these big old linemen. I mean, they're all just huge. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to see that this weekend. All right, Eli's Places, Season 2, Episode 6 came out last Wednesday. Another one's coming out tomorrow. This is on ESPN+. This is a really good show. I don't know. I don't think you've seen any of them this year.
There was actually some clips going around the last couple of days where he's visited, I don't know if it's part of that show.
Penn
I assume
State?
it is. He's visiting Penn State, and
That's the one that's coming out tomorrow.
Okay, that looks great. That looks like a lot of fun.
Okay. But
glad to see Eli having fun. Like, I didn't realize he was going that far with it. So.
Oh, he's doing all kinds of good stuff. But this last episode last week, episode 6, was called Who Wore It Best? And he had Cam Newton, because Cam Newton was known for really dressing up for his post-game press conferences, and Tim Gunn, who is like an icon in the fashion industry. But the whole show was about football fashion and basically the development of the football uniform over the years. So it was pretty informative.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I saw a bit of those clips from them looking at uniforms and the nose guard and all that.
Yep. And then at the end, they brought out several players from several different college teams, and they rated, some of the current college uniforms on like a runway.
Right.
So it was a fun show. It was really good, and I learned something about the development of the uniform and this and that. So it was a lot of fun. So check that out. Eli's Places, episode 6, season 2 on ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus sounds like it'll be the thing to have here in a little bit, with a couple of the London games being broadcast on there, and Eli's Places, Peyton's Place is coming back in November.
I've actually had it for a couple of years, just because that's where I get my Canadian football games. If it's not on TV, if I really want to see a game, I can bring it up on my laptop on ESPN Plus.
I believe it's still $5 a month, right?
I think I pay by the year, and it's not all that much. But so it's
year's usually a decent deal. But I think if you just wanted to go by the month, it's like $5 a month. Last I checked.
Yeah. But like I said, Eli's Places and Peyton's Places was another show that I watch regularly on the ESPN Plus. So, yeah, you check that out. All right, Arena Football TV on YouTube. They posted a game from 2004. The New York Dragons at the Orlando Predators. Jay Gruden was the head coach of Orlando, and Aaron Garcia was the quarterback of New York in this game. Yeah, and Aaron Garcia was just a phenomenal.
He's a top 5 arena quarterback for sure.
Yep. All right, a couple of birthdays today. September 20th, fullback Jim Taylor. Born on this date in 1935, he passed away in 2018 at the age of 83. Played his college football at LSU and was selected in the second round of the 1958 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers. He played 10 NFL seasons with Green Bay. He played from 58 to 66, and he also played for the New Orleans Saints in 1967. He won 4 NFL titles with the Packers, including the first Super Bowl. And he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1976. The other birthday today is tight end Randy Grossman. Turned 70 years old today. He played his college football at Temple. And he signed as a free agent with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Played 8 NFL seasons, all with the Steelers, from 1974 to 1981, and won 4 Super Bowls. 8 seasons, 4 Super Bowls. Wow. And he wasn't even drafted. He signed as a free agent. So happy birthday, Randy Grossman. All right, obituaries. We have 2 of them this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who made the world of football a better place. Our first obituary is that of Shelby Jordan, a tackle in the NFL for 11 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 80. Jordan played college football at Washington University in St. Louis and was selected in the 7th round of the 1973 NFL Draft by the Houston Oilers, but he never signed with the team. In 1975, Jordan signed with the New England Patriots, where he played in 1975 as well as from 1977 to 1982. He also played for the Los Angeles Raiders from 1983 to 1986. He won Super Bowl 18 as a member of the Raiders, and Jordan was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2013.
All right, our final obituary this week is that of Roy Schmidt, a guard and tackle in the NFL for 5 seasons, has passed away at the age of 80. Schmidt played college football at Long Beach State and was selected in the 13th round of the 1965 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers, but did not make the Packers' active roster. He went on to play for the New Orleans Saints from 1967 to 1968, the Atlanta Falcons in 1969, the Washington Redskins in 1970, and the Minnesota Vikings in 1971.
All right, now we're up to this week's history lesson, unless you saw something on your phone that we want to talk about.
That is not football-related, no.
Okay. Well, it's probably fantasy football, because that's not football-related.
It was a Marvel movie-related, but it's fine.
All right, well, let's get into our discussion this week. It's part 4 of our discussion on the greatest player nicknames in football history. And we're going to start out this week with a big one. Halfback Harold Red Grange. Now, Red wasn't really his nickname. I mean, it was, but the nicknames that we're talking about are the Galloping Ghost and the Wheaton Iceman. I think most everybody's familiar with him as being the Galloping Ghost.
I can't say I've heard of the Wheaton Iceman, but the Galloping Ghost, of course.
Yeah, the Galloping Ghost was a name that he was given by the great sports writer Grantland Rice. And he got the nickname the Wheaton Iceman because he used to deliver blocks of ice in his hometown of Wheaton, Illinois, in the summer to stay in shape. You know, you've seen them in the old Three Stooges things where they grab these great big blocks of ice off the back of a truck and carry it up to somebody's apartment and put it in the ice box or whatever. That was his summer job. He was the first major college star to sign with the NFL, and in 1925 he signed with the Chicago Bears. However, after that season, his agent, C.C. Pyle, wanted Grange and himself to get a percentage of the Bears team, and George Halas flat out said no. So Pyle took his star player, and they formed a whole new rival football league to the NFL called the American Football League, and Grange starred on the New York Yankees team. The AFL folded after just one season, and in 1927, the NFL admitted the New York Yankees into the NFL, but only as a travel team. That way, everybody could benefit from seeing Grange, and it was kind of a punishment for starting their rival league. But they wanted Grange back in the NFL, so they brought in a team and made him a travel team. And then after that, Grange did he didn't play in 1928 due to an injury, but from 1929 to 1934, he did return to the Chicago Bears. I think after he ditched his his agent, C.C. Pyle. And he was a member of the inaugural class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. Another great nickname, quarterback Darryl LaMonica, known as the Mad Bomber. A prolific passer in the early days of the pass-happy American Football League. He was with the Buffalo Bills from 1963 to 1963, but he really
63 to 66.
I'm sorry. What did I say? 63 to 63?
Yep.
63 to 66. But he really became famous when he played for the Oakland Raiders from 67 to 74. He won back-to-back AFL titles with the Bills in 64 and 65, and he led the Raiders to an appearance in Super Bowl II, where they lost to the Green Bay Packers. He had 3 consecutive seasons in which he passed for over 3,000 yards, something that was unheard of at the time. Now you think 3,000 yards, that's kind of average, but boy, back in the 60s, 3,000 yards for somebody, that was incredible. The next nickname is that of wide receiver and kick returner, Raghib Rocket Ismail. He got his nickname from his high school track coach because of how fast he ran and had a great startup off the starting blocks. Most likely would have been the number 1 overall pick in the 1991 NFL Draft by the Dallas Cowboys, but the night before the draft, he signed a huge contract with the Canadian Football League's Toronto Argonauts, where he played in 1991 and 1992. He won a Grey Cup title in 1991 and was named the game's MVP. He returned to the NFL in 1993 and played for the Los Angeles Raiders and later the Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys before he retired after the 2001 season. Another great nickname, defensive end Ed Too Tall Jones. On his first day at HBCU's Tennessee State, Jones was having trouble finding football pants, that were long enough to fit. A teammate commented that he was too tall to play football, and the name stuck.
That's a great nickname.
Yeah. He was the number 1 pick in the 1974 NFL Draft by the Dallas Cowboys. He played his entire career with the Cowboys from 1974 to 1989, except in 1979 when he walked away from football to try his hand at professional boxing. There's a great picture of him in a boxing match where he is just head and shoulders above his opponent. He had 6 pro fights that year, won them all, 5 by knockouts. And then he just, I guess he got out of his system and he went back to the NFL. He won Super Bowl 8 and was inducted into the Black College Football Hall of Fame in 2013. And our last great nickname this week, running back Walter Payton, who was known as Sweetness. If you've ever seen Walter Payton run, he just had such a smooth, sweet running style. It's really unique. You know, you compare him to Barry Sanders, and while they're both great running backs, the styles were so different. I mean, Walter Payton just glided around the field, and he could speed up, slow down. Oh my gosh, he was just incredible. He played for the Chicago Bears for 13 seasons from 1975 to 1987. He retired as the all-time leading rusher in the NFL with 16,726 yards, breaking Jim Brown's record of 12,312 yards. 12,312 yards. Yeah, and of course, Walter Payton was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1993. So to recap, we had Walter Payton, Sweetness, Ed Too Tall Jones, Rocket Ishmael, Daryl LaMonica, the Mad Bomber, and Harold Red Grange, known as the Galloping Ghost, and the Wheaton Iceman. And that's it for this week's history lesson.
Heck yeah, a lot of great nicknames. I love Too Tall Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetness was always one. I mean, he's just always Sweetness, but that's one of the nicknames I was always kind of like, eh. I mean, Walter Payton's still one of the greatest players of all time. Right. As far as a great nickname, I'm personally not crazy with it. I know that's going to ruffle a lot of people's feathers. But I'm just saying, when I hear Sweetness, I go, really? Like, that's the nickname you guys settled on for this great running back? He couldn't get a better nickname? Like, he could have just been Payton, Walter Payton. That's all you needed. He didn't need Sweetness added onto it, but hey, whatever.
I think he was a great individual, too, and everybody loved him. Even, as not a fan of the Chicago Bears, I really respected and I really enjoyed watching Walter Payton play.
Yeah.
I saw him play in person many times against Detroit, and he was just something else. And
it's just like watching a Peyton Manning. You just gotta respect the way they play, even though it's against you and they sometimes burn you.
Yep.
But you just gotta respect the way some of these other guys play, because the odds of all the great players playing for your team aren't great. So.
Well, it's only been in the last few years that I actually have forgiven Fran Tarkenton, because I hated him for so many years, because he would always come to Detroit and he would scramble around, and I'm like, oh, we got him. There's no way he's going to get out of this. He'd get out of it. He'd scramble around. He'd find a receiver 50 yards down the field and throw a touchdown. So infuriating, and I've only been able to let that anger go just in the last few years towards Fran Tarkenton. All right, upcoming events, October 2nd. It's the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. That's a 9:30 kickoff on the NFL Network. October 9th, New York Giants versus the Green Bay Packers at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's also a 9:30 kickoff at 9:30 on NFL Network. Saturday, October 29th, the CFL regular season comes to an end. Only a few more weeks of the regular season, and then we are into the playoffs up in Canada. Sunday, October 30th, the Denver Broncos versus the Jacksonville Jaguars at Wembley Stadium in London. Another 9:30 kickoff, but 9:30 a.m. kickoff, and this game is going to be on ESPN Plus. So if you don't have ESPN Plus, you're not going to be able to watch the Broncos and the Jaguars that day. November 13th, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Munich, Germany. Another 9:30 a.m. kickoff on NFL Network. Sunday, September 20th, the CFL Grey Cup Championship game is going to be played in Saskatchewan on ESPN. And finally, on our upcoming events calendar, Monday night, November 21st, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City. It's an 8:15 kickoff, Monday Night Football on ESPN.
Woo!
And that is it for our rundown this week. Anything that we missed?
Man, oh man, there's been no breaking news, but as we say every Tuesday,
oh man,
as soon as we turn the microphones off,
yep,
something happens.
Something's going to happen. And Hopefully we'll be able to put a link out there on our Facebook page and our
Like
Twitter
we
page.
say, every week Randy's on he's the king of the retweet on Twitter. So if you follow the World of Football, he usually gets you up to date on that
Well,
stuff.
yeah. I posted that story about the Selman brothers and their statue, and some of the stuff about the ratings for the a lot of the things that we talked about on the show, and then a lot of other things that we don't add. But if they're interesting and it concerns the world of football, I usually retweet it out there for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
Go over to Facebook, and you can look for the World of Football Kalamazoo and like us there. You can also follow our Twitter account, which is @TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted every single Tuesday. Rain, shine, hail, sleet, what have you. We are here, and we post the show up no matter what. Available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find full audio versions of our podcast on YouTube. That YouTube channel is The World of Football Kalamazoo. If you do a search, please go over there, subscribe. Please, hit that thumbs up button. If you could hit the little bell notification, be notified whenever we drop new videos, it would greatly be appreciative of us. Let us know what you think. Comment on any of the videos if you have your thoughts. This week we'll be doing our picks video on our YouTube channel. That'll go up tomorrow evening. And, we've gotten some interactions and other people's picks, and those will be on this week's show. So we're looking forward to getting that up for everybody and making another week of predictions.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention was that a week or so ago I had a Zoom interview with a gentleman by the name of John Vorparian on his cable access show Beyond the Game out of White Plains, New York. I've known John for a few years with the Pro Football Researchers Association, and he had me on his show. I appreciate that. We talked about the USFL, the CFL, talked about some grave visits that I've been on, and just a little bit of everything over the course of a half an hour. And I have a link to that on our Facebook and Twitter pages, so check that out and let us know what you think. All right, and remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Until next time, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow, and be sure to come join the football conversation at any point with us.
And we'll see you all next week.